Welcome to Backstage with Becca B with special guest Emily Bautista. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, this Connecticut native auditioned and booked Miss Saigon when her dad sent Cameron McIntosh an email asking about upcoming auditions. Since booking the understudy for Kim and Miss Saigon on Broadway, she's also gone on tour as Eponine in Les Miserables and went on the Miss Saigon tour where she played the lead Kim. Please welcome Emily Bautista. Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Thanks. And thank you for reaching out. I'm so excited to be chatting with you.
Of course, I got to see you as Kim and Miss Saigon, so I'm very excited to have you on.
Thank you. What city did you come to?
It was Pantages, so LA.
It was in LA.
Yeah, it was Pantages, yeah.
That's amazing.
So, how have you been? This has kind of been a weird time theater got rapidly taken away because of everything that happened in 2020, and hopefully it'll come back soon, but it's been weird, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the first month off was such a weird adjustment process because, I've been very fortunate to work for the last 3 years, and then all of a sudden everything stopped. And, I went from traveling every single week, every Monday, and then going, staying home with my family for a month, that turned into 2 months, that turned into 8 months. And so, and I think at first it was hard to wrap my mind around the fact that theater wasn't happening. It was like no one was doing anything. And so it was a very odd adjustment. And I think, we're all very ready to start performing again, start working, start making art, hopefully sometime soon.
Yes, I'm ready to see all these talented people back on stage singing doing what they love and seeing them enjoy what they love and sitting in the audience crying.
No, I love that. Are you also a performer?
I was as a child, but now I'm more of the behind the scenes fan person. I want to do social media eventually for something involving theater.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So you have a very interesting story with your theater career and how you got cast in Miss Saigon. But first, have you always known that you wanted to be a theater performer?
Yeah, for the longest time, I always knew I wanted to be a singer. I think when I was really little, I didn't know in what capacity I wanted to be able to perform. I was like a diehard country fan growing up. So at some point I thought I'd have a girl group, like the Chicks, the Dix, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks. And, maybe a Taylor Swift story. And then I wasn't introduced to theater until I turned somewhere around 10 or 11. And I was able to do my first show. So that was when that bug kind of bit. And it was The King and I. And a couple years later, I got to do Les Miserables. And I played Little Cosette. And so it was just this very, such a classic welcoming into theater, with two classics like those shows. And I just fell in love. So I went to high school and I studied a lot of theater. I went through a half-day arts program. And I studied a lot of theater. But when I was applying to college, I thought it was taking a turn. And there was a second where I didn't think, this would be my path. This would be my career.
Okay. And then you got to college and you did communications and theater, and I saw that you were going to transfer into communications, and then you got a call from Miss Saigon on Broadway.
Yeah, it was such a crazy story. So when I was applying to colleges, I applied all BFA musical theater programs, the top programs in the country, and out of the 8, I got rejected from 7 of them. So, after hearing no so many times, I really started to believe it. And, I started to believe that, okay, I must not be cut out. If I can't get into a college program for this, there's no way I could break into the theater scene here in New York City or break in the TV film industry. So that was kind of when I made that decision I first started with journalism, and then I landed on communications management and design, and I had a minor in theater. And I was kind of almost prepared to go that route. And then a nice little change of events happened.
So how did you find out about the Miss Saigon auditions, and why did you audition for it at the time? I mean, because it sounds like you weren't as confident as you were pre-college at the time.
Yeah.
maybe getting the part brought your confidence back up and you were like, okay, I can do this again?
No, definitely. So when I was in high school and, all the rejection letters were coming in left and right, my dad, he's in insurance, has no connection to the business, just found Cameron McIntosh, our producer, his email on his website and shot them an email saying that, my daughter loves theater. She's really great. If you have any auditions, we'd love to hear about it. And when he told me this, I was like, you're crazy. I was like, there's no way we're going to hear anything. But like crazily enough, 2 months later, a casting director at Tara Rubin's agency, they emailed me for my headshot and resume, and I was like, oh, this is weird. And we didn't know Miss Saigon was casting at the time, or they were getting ready to cast. They were in London doing their West End run, and it just so happened that timing was perfect. They were bringing it over to New York City, and I was the right age and in the right place. And, I always think back, if I had chosen to go to a different college, the audition process would have been a lot harder because I was just up at Ithaca. So I would hop on a bus, 6 hours, be in the city, come back up, do some classes. And then that happened for almost over the span of half of a year, that I was going back and forth between Ithaca, New York and the city. So it was a very crazy,
Balance.
yeah. And so when Tara Rubin got my information, it was a year had passed, and so I really thought that was like out the door. And I was a freshman in college, and I had just had like a mental breakdown because I told my parents, I was like, I don't know, like I was like, I'm committed to communications, but I'm thinking about trying to take lessons or something. I was just so like lost, very lost, and then this audition came up, and yeah, kind of changed things.
I feel like it's good to hear for people that it does take time and it doesn't always happen like that. So like, I feel like patience is key, and like, you can't be like, okay, I didn't hear back like the next week. I obviously didn't get the audition, like it's over. Like you can still be hopeful after a year.
Absolutely. It was kind of crazy because, sorry, I put potatoes in the oven and I'm going to take them out.
Okay.
What do you call it? Yeah. So it was so crazy because it felt like every time that I started to lose faith, a month would pass by and I wouldn't hear anything. It was like the second I started to lose faith was the day I got an email asking to come back down into the city and, audition again. So it's like this big roller coaster, and the time, it's kind of spread out over a long period of time.
Yeah. So, who did you audition for when you went in? Did you audition for the understudy of Kim when you initially went in, or was it?
Yeah. So I understudied for, it was the Kim understudy bar girl track in the ensemble. And my first audition I had was with Mary Sugarman. And then after that, more people started piling in. And then my last audition was with Cameron and, our writers, Claude Michelle, Schoenberg, and Elaine Boubil. Yeah, so it was just kind of, and Lawrence Connor, our director. So, yeah.
Was that unreal being like so young and thrown into that?
Yes. So someone who, he was our associate producer, executive producer. He is from a town over from where I live. So whenever I would come to audition, we would chat, and he would really, guide me through everything just to make sure I was okay because I was so young, and just making sure that I was comfortable with, auditioning with different Chris's, auditioning with different Allens, meeting everybody. But I remember the day that I had that audition with like the whole team, he was like, it's okay. It's like everyone, but there's 2 Frenchmen and an English guy in there. And like, I was in such like a, I don't know, like in another place that when I went in and I saw it was Cameron McIntosh and the 2 writers, and I was like, that's
Like that.
I was like, no, 2 very special Frenchmen and 1 very special English man. It was in that room. So it was kind of a shock. I didn't realize that they were all going to be there that day.
Wow. How did you calm your nerves pre that audition?
I think I was always so nervous being outside the room, but the second I got inside the room, all the nerves melted away. I think there was so much pent up anxiety and nervousness going into it, but and this is something I miss about, the theater world when we're not in a pandemic, is being able to be in front of other people and create with other people and feed off of the energies of other people. It was so comforting once I got in there because everyone was so nice. Everyone behind the table, even though, there were these legends that I had looked up to my whole entire life, they were so kind, and they really, were patient with me because I was 17, and I had some training under my belt, but not any professional. So, or well, not any professional work. So they were very patient with me and very kind, and the nerves kind of settled once we got started.
That's interesting because like I feel like you're the second person out of everyone I've interviewed who's said that like you've been relaxed in an audition. The first person said that she views it as like a chance to perform for the people
Yeah,
she's auditioning for.
absolutely. Like I won't say that I have no nerves at all. Like I'll be outside that room, like like very trying to like, calm my breath and everything. The nerves are high, but the second they start playing the piano, and the second I get to walk into that room, I think one of the key things about auditioning is just being yourself. We spend so much time working together that people want to work with people that they like, that they get along with, and so it's a big personality test as well.
And people who are excited for the project.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
what did you know about Miss Saigon before going into to play the role? And what did you learn while researching and preparing and rehearsing for the show?
Definitely. So going into it, I only knew like the big major songs, and I knew the storyline, but it was all these little scenes that I wasn't too familiar with. So getting to learn that and getting to fill in these scenes that help tell the story was key, and it was major. So that was something that I learned along the way. All these scenes with her and just Tam, her talking to the kids, and her talking to her son, and building that motherly relationship. I knew it was going to be a challenge, and I knew it was going to be tough, but I didn't know physically and emotionally to the extent it would be. But at the same time, the way that the show is constructed is that we are on stage as Kim's a lot alone, but the ensemble's there. There's a whole cast there that is just feeding you with energy the whole time and really helps tell the story and move the story along. So it's a journey that we kind of all just hop on together, which has been nice.
What was it like working with the young Tams on stage?
My little babies. They were so cute. They were just, I love kids, and especially that age is so funny because they start around 3 turning 4, and then they normally leave around 5 or 6. So those like 2-3 years are just them growing up, and it's so crazy to watch them evolve and start to pick up on things. And some of my favorite memories, I would be singing the final scene with them, and one of my Tams would be mouthing along the words with me while I sang it to him on stage, like just like really cute things like that. And it's just so funny too because being in theater, we all take it so personally, we all take it so seriously, but then you have a 4-year-old running around backstage, and
Yeah,
they're just filling life, and being
they
so true and authentic. Yeah.
they bring light to all the cast and happiness. And it's like when someone's having an off day, you could probably count on the Tams backstage to cheer you all up.
They were so cute. We would go to the Tam room anytime, like, I was feeling down or feeling bogged down. And, there was one time where I was sick and I had the worst cough. And one of my Tams knocked on my dressing room and handed me cough drops. I was like such an angel. He was so sweet.
My heart, my heart.
I know.
What was your reaction? Kind of backtracking a little bit to close to your audition. What was your reaction when you found out that you got the part?
So for Saigon Broadway, it was so crazy. I was on FaceTime with the guy I was seeing at the time, and he was asking, he was like, "Did you get it? Do you know?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I haven't heard from anything. Like, I don't know if I got it." And then while we were FaceTiming, I got the email saying that was the offer for the part. And so I like stopped talking for like 5 minutes, and then my roommate was in the shower, and I like ran into the shower into the bathroom, and she like pulled me in the shower, and I was like, "I got it!" And we were like screaming, and like like she was in the shower, but we just like were so excited. And so that was like when I found out. And yeah, it's just a very crazy day.
And since you were in the ensemble too, you had a track for Broadway. You obviously had to learn some choreography.
Yeah.
How long did that take during the rehearsal process, and was it scary? Did you have dance experience previously?
So it was a little, I won't lie, it was definitely, that was the thing I was the most scared about being in the ensemble, was being able to keep up with these dancers that were like Broadway dancers, you know, that were Rockettes and like high caliber, dancers. But, everyone was so kind and so patient with me. And they all, they kind of knew that um, I don't want to generalize, but a lot of the Kims that come in are singer actors first and dancers as a third. So they were aware of that. And I had some dance training in high school. I had played a couple of dance parts and, but I didn't grow up dancing competitively. So I took my jazz, I took ballet and, and was familiar with it. But for me, I think when it comes to dance, it takes me twice as long to learn it, but I am able to learn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was frightening because everyone was like kicking their face, and I was
And you're like, how do you do that?
okay. I'll try.
I'll try. I don't know if I can.
No, but I still like remember all that choreography. It's so funny.
Well, do you remember your Broadway debut?
Yes, it was so crazy because there were, I think, 10 other people in the cast that were also making their Broadway debut.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so fun because it was just a huge celebration. And I think it was one of, I look back and I think I couldn't have asked for a better experience, just because it was so many people were making their Broadway debut. And so many people had been in 5 or 6 Broadway shows. So the experience levels and, being able to learn from, very experienced actors, and then also being able to celebrate, that major milestone for a lot of our cast was really, really cool.
So I'm gonna get back into Miss Saigon because you obviously went back to Miss Saigon on the tour recently, but in between you played Eponine in Les Mis.
Yeah.
So that's another classic. And obviously you had played Cosette before, as you mentioned, in school. How is it different playing Eponine in Les Mis for Broadway tour versus like being in Les Mis and like your school production?
Oh, absolutely. So I had actually done Les Mis twice before doing it professionally. My high school production, I was able to play Eponine. So I have like a lot of really great memories with the show, and it's just so crazy. I was talking to someone the other day that the music in Miss Saigon and Les Mis are just so iconic.
Yeah.
So like being backstage during Les Mis and hearing the At the End of the Day start to play, it's, yeah, absolutely. There's goosebumps, and it's so cool how they stage At the End of the Day, because it's the whole cast is behind the screens, is behind the scrims, and I just remember the first time I got to go on with the whole cast. We were all huddled up behind the scrim, and they start playing that iconic music, and I just had goosebumps all over. And I was able to be a part of that show for 6 months, and the goosebumps never died down. It was just something so very, very cool. And also getting to play that character 8 times a week was so much fun, because every single night is a new opportunity to discover something more. And I never had that opportunity with that character, because high school, you do it for 2 weekends and that's about it. So being able to do it 8 times a week was some of the most fun I've ever had.
Speaking of that, how are you like Eponine, and how do you think you're different from Eponine?
Absolutely. I feel like with Eponine, she definitely has a little bit of me, and I got a little bit of her. I admire her strength and her fearlessness, and how, badass and sassy she is. And, I think something that we both have alike is I definitely am a hopeless romantic, and I think she absolutely is. But one of my favorite things about her is that at the end of the day, she's just a good friend. She's a good person. And my favorite thing about hers and Mary's relationship is that they're best friends. They're soulmates, but maybe not romantically. Maybe just they have to be in each other's lives, and she's just, the best friend you could ever ask for, and she's so fearless. So I love that about her. And I think after I played it, I was able to walk away with a little bit more of that kind of confidence that she has. And I think, like everyone, she struggles a bit with the insecurity and, being in love with someone that doesn't love you back, and that rejection. But the way she handles it, her perseverance, and her just her passion and her love for another person has always been something I admired and try to emulate.
She's very three-dimensional, even though she doesn't get like much time on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, she gets like a third of the show, maybe a little less on stage. Like the audience connects with her. How did you make the audience connect with her and like step into the shoes of Eponine and bring your own spin to the character?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite things that my director Lawrence Connor said was that she is so artistic, and I had never thought of Eponine as being an artistic character. But when you listen to the lyrics in On My Own, she creates this whole beautiful world around her, and she's in the middle of the slums in Paris. So it's like she is able to see past her state, her where she is in life, and make it beautiful. See the beauty. She's such an optimist. While she's the girl that gets rejected, she's the girl that has the insecurities. I think she's not a very hard person to relate with. I think we've all been there in life where it's just like, we feel that rejection, and we try so hard, and sometimes it feels a little bit hopeless. But something that I love about her is that she never gives up. She never, and I think that's something that that was easy for me to relate with the fact that I've felt the rejection, but every morning you have to try and fight through it and take every day one step at a time. And I think the lyrics are so they ring so true. So I think when I was trying to take on that character, I just thought about the lyrics. I thought about what her story was and what she was saying, because I was like, I've been there, and I know all of my friends have been there. My family's been there and has felt like an Eponine at one point in their life.
Yes, for sure. Did you have to pinch yourself when you first sang On Your Own
Yes.
or On My Own?
Yeah. It was definitely I mean, that was one of the first songs that made me fall in love with theater. Um
It's like the best.
yeah, so getting to sing that and getting to be in front of the epic barricade and have the smoke, it was just I every night I was in awe that I had the honor of being able to sing that song.
How have you like kept the positivity up backstage and in real life when playing characters in such heavy shows? Because I feel like both Kim and Eponine, you're in a heavy show and it's like it's not a happy show.
Yeah, you know what? I think I love this question because it's so true. The material's tough. It's not like the happiest material in the world, but I've been very fortunate to be in three different casts, three different productions that just everyone had each other's back. I think we all knew we were telling a hard story, and especially taking on the role as Kim and taking on the role as Eponine. Those backstage moments were key, were everything. And when we were on tour together, the cast, the girls, we would do wine and cheese nights, and we would unwind together and
Yes.
bond that way. And so I think while we tell these heart-wrenching stories on stage, we create the most heartwarming memories backstage, and that's what helps keep the positivity up.
Are you more of a Cosette or an Eponine?
I'm definitely more of an Eponine.
Okay.
I love Cosette, at heart I am definitely more of an Eponine.
Are you like me and like always wishing that there's gonna be like some spin-off where Eponine and Marius end up together?
you know I I mean, I think it's a known fact that Panine dies in the show.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. But I maybe in an alternate reality, I don't know if I would have wanted her and Marius to end up together. I think, I love it's a hard, bittersweet ending where the fact that, she dies in his arms, but in my head, Marius does love her,
Yeah.
not in a romantic way, but he loves her like a best friend. And I think that might be even more powerful. And I think, if she were to have lived through that, she would have found someone who loved her the same way that she loved, Marius, and someone who did have that romantic connection with her. But I do love her relationship with Marius very much, because I think they're just best friends at the end of the day.
Besides Eponine's big song, On My Own, What was your favorite song in Les Mis to sing?
I love A Little Fall of Rain. I just think it's so pretty. It's so, so pretty. And yeah, that one was a really fun one to do. And actually, all the little parts, like all the little scenes that transition,
Yeah.
some of my favorite stuff. I just like it was so fun to sing, and the music was always so pretty.
Do you have like a favorite stage door memory from being in Les Mis? Like, did people come and like were there super fans of Les Mis that would come
Yeah.
and, like compliment like your singing? Because like for those who haven't heard you singing, your singing is incredible.
Thank you. You're too sweet. Um, yes, in Dallas, something that will always stick in my mind. Actually, two different scenarios, but I was able to meet this girl. Her name was Jackie, and she was Asian. She is Asian, and I met her at the stage door, and she wrote me this whole letter about representation. Um, and it was just amazing because it was growing up. I didn't really think, I knew the roles that were played by Asians before me, and I knew the roles that maybe one day I would play as well. But to see someone who was a teenager and tell me that seeing someone who looked like her on stage meant the world to her, meant the world to me, because I remember the first time getting to see that with Leia Salonga and being like,
Yeah.
she looks like me, and if she can do it, I can do it. So that was definitely one of my favorite ones.
So obviously Les Mis was your first tour.
Yeah.
What did you learn on the Les Mis tour that helped you with the Miss Saigon tour when you got that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think traveling is a whole different ball game. When you add the travel, oddly enough, when it comes to singing and it comes to your body's performance, the environmental factors are major. Those 2-3 hours you spend on an airplane really dry out the vocal cords, and you get to the next city with a bunch of jet lag. So it was finding out how to maneuver those environmental factors, as well as I'm such a foodie, so I love going out and
Yes.
eating all the food in every different city. And like at first I would be like, no, I gotta, like, I have to eat healthy, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. But then I was like, no, like, we get the opportunity. Yeah, we get the opportunity to explore different cities all over America and explore the culture. And so I found a lot of comfort in finding some of the best restaurants in every city. It was one of my favorite things to do. But yeah, just I think the self-care, I really started to learn how to take care of myself. And at night, when I couldn't sleep at night and I was just scrolling my phone, I would have to talk to myself and be like, no, you need your rest, you need to sleep, you need to take care of your body. So it was always finding that balance of how to do that while traveling.
Especially because we know that the light on our phones like keeps us awake, but we're like so addicted to it that it's like hard to put it down. So it's like you need to have like the conversation with yourself that's like, no, put the phone down. I know it's hard, but you can look at it in the morning.
Exactly. It's a hard one. I still struggle with it all the time, but yeah.
Same. I'm like up at like 2 a.m. scrolling and I'm like, wait, it's already 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Which city had the best food? Because you mentioned food. So I have to know.
Seattle. Seattle is one of my favorite cities to visit. Seattle and New Orleans. But every time, because after Les Mis, I made sure to see that Saigon was going to Seattle, and they were, and I was so excited because they have. I'm Filipino, and they have this amazing Filipino restaurant in the middle of the public market, and on top of that, they just have incredible food, incredible culture there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I need to go to Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen pictures of that market over and over again, and
Yeah.
I'm like, just for that. And I know it's like gloomy and stuff all the time, but it doesn't matter. If like there's tourist stuff to do, then I can be entertained.
Although I will say, I think when I was in Les Mis, we were there for 2 weeks, and it may have only rained like 4 days. The other,
Really?
yeah. So there were some beautiful days, and the days that it is beautiful, because one of my favorite things about Seattle is that it's a major city, and there's a bunch of nature all around. So it just was beautiful looking out at the ocean, Mount Rainier in the distance. Yeah, it's very
Love
pretty
that so
there.
much. So after the Les Mis tour, you went back with Miss Saigon. How much time passed before you got back to Miss Saigon? And did you re-audition or did the creators like ask you to be part of the tour?
Yeah, so I did a couple auditions before I left for the Miss Saigon tour, before I left for the Les Mis tour, for Miss Saigon tour, and I did two more auditions while I was on the road with Les Mis, and then I was offered the part of Kim maybe 4 months into my run.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and so I ended up finishing around 6 months, and then I had 1 week off, and then it was back to New York City, back in the rehearsal room, and then we kicked it off. It was a very whirlwind experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
what was different stepping back into the role as a lead now?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of there was a lot of pressure to, hold a happy face, to kind of be that leading factor, and being I think I was 20 when we started that tour. I was still learning, but after being in Les Mis, our leading man in Les Mis was just an incredible role model. And so, I learned a lot from him, and I learned a lot from Eva when she was playing it on Broadway. So I had these experiences, and I knew what I wanted to do as a leading lady. So I went into that, and I knew that there was that pressure of that. But the second we all got into the rehearsal room, everyone was supporting me, and it was so nice, to be able to talk to everybody, and everyone was, so excited to be telling this story. So it was a team effort, and yeah, it was just so much fun to be able to build it from the ground up again.
How do you think you had grown as a performer from being on the Les Mis tour?
Definitely. Acting was something I had always struggled with, and the Les Mis tour really challenged me in that way. So when I got back to playing Kim on the Saigon tour, I felt definitely more grounded and more rooted in myself as an actress, and still growing and still learning every single day along the way. I think after the Les Mis tour, I knew how to take care of my body, and I knew what I needed to do for myself to be able to perform at 100% every night. I think as actors, we can't take care of a character if we can't take care of ourselves. If we don't give 100% to ourselves, we can't give 100% to our characters. And so that was something I learned throughout the Les Mis tour, and also kept learning on how to better improve that statement throughout the Saigon tour.
Wow. So, I mean, your Kim probably changed leaps and bounds
Oh yeah.
from when you played it. I don't know how many times you played it on Broadway,
Yeah, I think I'm
but
like 15. I can't remember.
it probably changed leaps and bounds. How did it specifically change that you can point out?
Definitely. I think the difference in being a cover for a role and then playing it every night or 6 times a week for Kim, is getting to dive deeper and deeper and solidify the things that you want to share about the character, and then also experiencing new things. When I would play it in New York, I would play it maybe for 1 night, 2 nights here, and then a month would pass. And every time I left the stage thinking, oh, I wanted to try this next time. I want to try this next time. So I have to remember to do this. And I think as a cover, you have that challenge of, being thrown on stage at a whim's notice. And I would always get in my head because I would think about my past performance and what I wanted to try new and what I wanted to change, because I didn't know when the next time I'd be able to do that. Playing it every night, I was able to leave the stage and be like, I can't wait to do it again tomorrow. I can't wait to fix what I, didn't love about tonight. But also at the same time, the show, live theater, is growing and it's changing and evolving and it's real. So every show was different, whether I liked it or not. Different energies are brought onto the stage, and we all feed off of those different energies. So while we tell the same story, we tell it, a different way every night. It changes slightly every single night.
And obviously other people had played Kim before. So how did you work on putting your own spin on the character of Kim?
Definitely. I think it was, I won't lie, that was a lot of pressure in the beginning, was to, respect the past Kims that came before me and not, take the work that they had done. But instead, make it my own, and also pay homage to the Kims that came before me, because they're icons like Lea Salonga and even Bautista. So, and I was able to learn a lot from them. I think when it came down to playing it every night, I had to keep the faith in the fact that, we all have different life experiences. We all handle different challenges differently. So even though we're telling the same story, my outlook on it might be different from the way, past Kims have played it. And, I think I wanted to, like you said, like stay true to myself and make it my own. So going back to the text and then also asking myself, well, how would I, handle it if I was there, and doing my own research on it. I'm a journaler, so I like to pick up my journal, pick up a pen, and kind of write from Kim's experience, from her perspective, and that's something that always helped me to like meld myself and Kim together.
Kim also goes through such like she grows during the show very fast.
Very fast, yeah.
Like it's like speedy. How did you portray that from like innocent Kim to like okay, she knows the world now?
Absolutely. I think a lot of the help comes into the text. The different scenarios she's facing. It's like her and like the actor, you're forced to grow up so fast. There's really no choice. I always say that Saigon is kind of like this train that once you get on it, it does not stop going.
Yeah.
So showing her growth and showing that, I think every challenge that she faces, she has to figure out how to conquer those, how to face them. And that is what helps her grow throughout the show. The different challenges, the different strives she has to face.
And I feel like the songs in Miss Saigon that Kim sings specifically aren't easy songs. And there's a lot of belting moments. So how did you keep your voice like intact when you knew you had to sing those songs multiple times a week? Like in Les Mis, you have one huge song like on my own, but in this show you have a ton of belting moments. So
Yeah.
it's very different.
No, definitely. I think for me, a couple things that really helped was I did voice lessons on the road every other week, which was great. And I checked in with someone at Liz Kaplan's studio who made sure everything was performing well, and there were no vocal issues or anything. Something that I found along the way, and I don't love working out, but I mean I felt a huge difference every show. If I worked out in the morning, I felt a huge difference in the show at night. So that was something I found along the way. And I would work out, I would go for a run, I would go for a bike ride, I would go to the gym. And something that I learned, especially after playing Kim, was that singing and acting is a full body experience. It's a full body workout. So we have to train like we're athletes. We have to train our bodies to be able to hold the stamina to do a show 6 and 8 times a week.
Did you ever sing while working out?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like I would run on the treadmill and sing some of the songs that, were the faster paced ones and the high belty ones, like the nightmare. Because truly on stage, it's just running back and forth. The whole cast is like running back and forth. And at the same time, singing all these high belty notes. So breath work and just trying to stay in shape as best as I could were the two major things for that.
Oh my God, the first time I saw that scene, I was like, I'm tired just watching it.
It's so fun, and it's crazy because that's, I think, my favorite scene in all of Miss Saigon. But it's so crazy. I always remember like sitting down and doing the Sun and Moon reprise, and it's kind of just like a breath of fresh air after 15 minutes of sprinting back and forth and screaming and singing.
Speaking of the songs in the show, what song was your favorite to sing?
I think the Sun and Moon reprise, I think, is just so pretty, and it's the music behind it is so iconic. So getting to sing the more broken down version of that song, especially after the nightmare scene, was just one of my favorite things. It was something I always look forward to. The melody is just so pretty.
What was your favorite scene in the show specifically, besides that one?
Nightmare? That's a good question. Maybe Movie in My Mind, because we really get to see the girls, and get to see their story throughout the whole show, because that's really the only time we're introduced to the prostitutes in Vietnam, and it's the only time, prior to that, we see them dancing on bars, and they look happy, and they look, just content. But that song, we see their struggle, and we see what they're facing through, as being women in a war-torn country and trying to sustain themselves.
Did you learn anything about history at that time that you don't think you would have learned had you not been in the show?
Definitely. So I actually, a year into the run, was able to go to Vietnam and go to the War Remnants Museum and do some research on the ground there. So that that was, incredible. And I learned so much about the Vietnam War that I didn't learn in school growing up. A lot of it, we hear from the American perspective, but actually being able to go to Vietnam and hear from the Vietnamese perspective, there's so much, we weren't taught in class.
Yeah, there's so much that you learn in different countries, like from being there and seeing in person that's different than like looking at a textbook in front of you
Yeah, absolutely.
and pictures from the time. So what was your favorite memory from the Miss Saigon tour?
Favorite memory from Miss Saigon. Hmm. Oh, this is a hard one. There's so many. Um, maybe our opening night. Our opening night was so fun because we had there were 8 people from the Broadway cast that were on tour together, and everyone else, a lot of us had mutual friends and got to know each other. But that night, everyone was so excited, and we all stood in a circle, held hands, and we just our Chris Anthony Festa, he gave a beautiful speech, and we all just were together and went on this big journey. And then at the end of the night, we had a huge party, and it was so much fun, and we got to celebrate the kickoff of tour. And being able to build a family from the ground up is just such a special feeling. And to be able to celebrate all the work that we had just put in for the last 2 months was it was just so much fun.
It's one of my favorite shows now. It was my first time seeing it when you were on the tour, and I mean, I'm so glad that the Broadway version is on Broadway HD, because when I want to listen to the music and like see the show, I'm like, okay, Broadway HD, I'm gonna turn it on.
I love that. Yeah.
Well, you've played a lot of classic roles in theater. You've gotten to play Eponine, and you've gotten to play Kim
Yeah.
in Les Mis and Miss Saigon. So what's a dream role of yours?
So, I mean, I can't take full credit for this because I heard someone else say it, but it was so genius because, because I have my dream roles like Eliza Hamilton. Would absolutely love to play Eliza in Hamilton. I would love to play Vanessa in The Heights. But, thinking back, those characters weren't alive 10 years ago. So who knows what characters are going to be alive in the next 10 years, the next 5 years. So I would love, to be able to build a character from the ground up and really be able to put a lot of myself into it and, learn a lot from a character and tell a story that maybe hasn't been told yet or hasn't been told in the way it will be written in the future. There are incredible writers every single day writing new pieces, writing new stories. And there are a lot of stories, I think, that haven't been told yet, but looking at the way theater is projecting, I think we're going to have a lot of very cool new stories in the future. A lot of new voices.
Especially when theater does come back, because I feel like a lot of the writers have been like sitting at home like writing 500 new
Yeah.
musicals. So I think it's gonna happen sooner or later.
I hope so.
I think so. If you could revive any Broadway show and be in it, what would it be?
To revive any Broadway show?
Yeah, and be in it.
Oh, that's such a good question. I've never thought about that. To revive any Broadway show and be
Or anything that was off Broadway.
Hmm. Oh, this is so tough. I don't know. Maybe something like Carrie. I love the music in Carrie,
Ooh.
and I would love to, be able to play Carrie. That would just be so fun. Shows like Wicked. Like I would love to be in Wicked one day. But yeah, I think somewhere along those lines.
See, I could see Wicked. I was gonna say that when we were on the dream role subject, I was gonna be like, I could see you playing Elphaba.
I would love to. That's one of the other shows that really launched my love for theater. Just singing, No Good Deed in the bathroom. I still do that. I have a green face mask that I do and sometimes do that. So
Well, love it. And you have the belting down, so
yeah. Yeah, and I love her story as well. Yeah, there's so many. There's so many roles out there that I would love to tackle one day.
I have to ask because we're on the subject of Wicked.
Mhm.
You've seen Wicked.
Oh yeah.
Okay, who was your first elf by Glinda?
Oh, that is a good question. I'm not actually positive because I came on a class field trip when I was like 10 or 11. My most recent one was Jackie Burns and actually my old roommate, Libby Service. So it was so crazy because we were living together at the time, and Miss Saigon was on Broadway and she was working at Wicked. And she was the Glinda alternate. And we got tickets randomly one day and we were sitting down. And I was like, that's my roommate. And so later that night, I saw her at home and I was like, I just saw you. It was so
My
great.
goodness.
Yeah, it was so funny because, and I would always know if she was going on because she would have a bunch of glitter all over her and like big lashes.
Obviously.
Obviously, it was so we would come home at the same time, and yeah, and so that night was so funny because I was like, I just saw you,
Just saw you on stage.
and I'm like, now we're gonna go to bed across the room from each other, or across the hall.
Like, great job.
Yeah,
Bye. Good night.
exhausted. So yeah, she was amazing.
What's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you on stage in a show?
Funniest things ever happened. There have been so many mistakes by accident. Oh, you know what? One story I haven't really ever told, but in Saigon, there's a moment where the engineer comes up behind Kim and she's standing on a chair and she's in a dress and like underwear underneath, and he lifts her skirt and like it's like to show, it's a very risque scene, and so he's showing. Sorry, someone's ringing. And so the way that they make it, comfortable for all the Kims is that they give them like Spanx underneath, so it's not just like, a thong or a G-string. And so I was in, I forgot that one day. I forgot the underwear underneath. So it was so bad because I didn't know until the engineer pulls her pants down and she's just in a dress that has two very, very big slits on either side.
Oh no.
So scary. All my like mid-show mess ups have been my fault completely, but also caught like it's always a dress thing where I'm like more naked than I need to be. And so I was on stage, and the second the pants came off, I was like, oh Lord, I'm not wearing any underwear. So then like walking around stage, and one of my friends was like, do you not want me to tell any of the guys? And I went, no, tell all the guys, because they all like, as like we do in that scene, there's a lot of ass smacking and there's a lot of, it's a very risque scene. I was like, no, tell all the guys and tell them not to do anything. And then one of my friends was so kind. He had a 2-second break. He ran off stage, grabbed me the Spanx, and like came back on stage and gave them to me, and I put them on before that whole skirt lifting scene. So it was just it was a very panic trip that one day. It's a little bit too breezy down there.
How did you, speaking of those scenes, how did you get comfortable with the risque scenes?
Absolutely. Being so young and especially doing it on Broadway in the ensemble, I was very nervous about it, but the we always had check-ins. We always had the conversation. Everyone knew that it was a risque scene. Everyone knew that it was a very vulnerable scene. So we talked with our partners, and one of my favorite things that our choreographer would say is, just because you're comfortable today does not mean you're going to be comfortable tomorrow. So have that check-in with your partner every single day. Females, maybe you don't want to be touched tomorrow, and that's fine. We don't need that to tell the story. I think, something that I always took value in was the fact that what we were doing on stage, while it was hard, while it was risque, while it was vulnerable, was telling a story. It was being real and true to what was happening. So being able to tell that story is so important. And if that's the way to do it, then that's the way we're going to do it. And if that's the most impactful way, that's how we're going to do it. But there was a lot of trust with the actors that were in those positions. We always talked. We always kept each other in the loop of how we were feeling that day. And at the end of it, it just became second nature, and it was part of telling the story.
Yeah, I mean, I props to everyone in that cast, because like it is a risque show. So
Yep.
it's like you do wonder, you're like, how do they get comfortable, and like what do the creatives do to make sure that they're comfortable in the show?
Yeah, definitely a lot of check-ins, a lot of open communication, and the lack of judgment.
Yeah.
We do the extent we need to do to tell the story, and then but safety comes first, which I think is always key.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
So, how do you work on self-confidence in an industry like this? Because it's hard and you get told no sometimes. So everyone gets told no, and I don't think that everyone realizes that when they go into audition and they're told no, they're like, oh, this is like the end of the world. But
Yeah.
everyone gets told no.
Constantly and daily. That's how I work on self-confidence. It's such a battle. Especially right now where there's no work really. It's a constant battle of telling yourself that you are more than your work. I think a lot of actors, myself completely included, equates my worth to what I'm doing, to how I'm working, to what stories I'm telling, where I am in my career. But at the end of the day, we're human beings too, and right now it's a hard thing because us actors, at least for myself, we feel made to do this and we feel like this is our calling and this is our passion. And we know that this is our calling and our passion. So not being able to do that is really tough. So, it's a daily reminder that we are still worthy and we are, confident and secure. That confidence, I think, is such a battle because sometimes I'll feel great and I feel so confident in who I am. And sometimes, I'll wake up in the morning and just feel like, I struggle, I look in the mirror and but who doesn't? And I think that's the major thing. But daily, constantly, and always making a conscious effort to love myself. And, the days that I don't, to go back and remind myself to, I've found a couple things that have helped, like journaling and meditation and all these things. And, some days it doesn't do anything. And other days it's my saving grace. So it's always listening to my body, listening to my emotions and my feelings, and just taking comfort in the fact that as actors, as people in this business, and as human beings, we all experience this, and we all are fighting, those demons inside that tell us we're less than. So
Oh, for sure, and comparing ourselves to other people constantly,
absolutely, absolutely.
especially as we get older. I was talking to someone yesterday, and it's especially as we get older.
Absolutely. And I think something that I always take comfort in, but, always have to remind myself too, because sometimes the feelings take over the logic. But we're all unique individuals, not, we're all so different. We're not going to go through life walking the same exact step and encountering the same exact situations and experiences. So, sometimes when I start to do that, when I start to compare myself, I have to remember it's like, right, we all have different paths in life and there's no right or wrong way to do that.
And in an industry like the theater industry, especially when you're in like a show that gets like a long run, whether it's on Broadway or regionally, like the theater fans love to see different portrayals of the same character.
Yeah.
And theater fans. So it's like you don't want to be the same as anyone else.
No, I love that. I've never heard someone say that, but it's so true. That's one of my favorite things about seeing a show is seeing how different human beings tell the same story, but tell it differently.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I've seen Wicked like 500 times. Not
Yeah.
really 500 times, but like 20 times. So, speaking of that, what are you most looking forward to when live theater does return?
Honestly, a big reunion. I just want to see my friends and I just want to create with other people. I've been very fortunate to do little gigs here and there. But I miss performing with people in person and feeling the energies of different people. Working virtually, it has been, a blessing, a saving grace, but it's not the same. Live theater
Yeah.
is live theater for a reason. And I honestly can't wait to just hug people.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Give them a good hug.
I can't wait till I mean, I know masks are gonna be around for a while, but I can't wait until it becomes a normal thing to not have masks again.
Yeah, it's so crazy because sometimes I'll watch a commercial that was filmed before the pandemic. And I'm like, where are their masks? And like, my mind like
You
goes
look
there.
freaked out.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, we used to live without that, but
Yeah,
for the time being, that's what's keeping us safe. And hopefully one day we will get back to that place where, hugs are normal again and we can all work together in person.
I hope so. Sooner than later.
Yeah.
So, lastly, have you been working on anything in this time period that you'd like to promote, whether it's theater related or not?
Um, yeah, I actually, something that I picked up halfway through a couple months back was a health coaching. So I've been in school to become a health coach. Um, I think I found myself at a really dark place and it was, like so many, it was just struggling with, how everything was looking, and I ended up signing up for classes to become a health coach, a holistic nutrition coach. And so, not something to replace theater by any means, but that was something that I found while I was on tour that really helped me, taking care of my body, taking care of my spiritual and mental health. So I really wanted to learn more how to do that, and hopefully help myself the next time I'm in a show. Hopefully, sometime soon, but and also help other actors that are facing the same thing. We were talking about self-confidence a little bit ago, and this health coaching has been something that has been teaching me how to love myself, how to heal myself from past traumas, how to heal other people. And one of my favorite things as an actor is being able to tell stories that help heal other people. And so being able to study what it's like to be a health coach and being able to heal other people that way as well, I just feel like goes hand in hand. And so that's something I've been kind of up to. And then singing in my shower here, and
Hey, same.
definitely missing theater, but that was maybe a silver lining that came out of the pandemic is another love as well.
And when theater gets back, you can help people with your knowledge that you've learned during this time.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing. It's one of my favorite things about this program, and what I've learned. It's kind of like being someone's best friend. Being someone to listen and to, just that's like one of the biggest things in the program is listening, and being able to help people by listening to their stories and imparting your advice where you can and your knowledge where you can. But at the end of the day, it's kind of just learning how to heal yourself and heal other people at the same time.
I love that so much. That's really inspiring. And to keep up with you and anything else that's like super inspiring, like you've been talking about, where can people follow you on social media?
Absolutely. So Instagram is really my only social media platform at the moment. I'm trying to build a TikTok
Yes.
for singing videos. I'm not really sure. But at the moment, EM_Bautista, Bautista is my Instagram handle. And you can follow me there.
I would say someone else was like, I'm new to TikTok. I was like, okay, everyone on TikTok needs to get on the Bridgerton train so I can cast everyone in that.
It is so good. I was like, my roommate and I sing it all the time because I was like, it's so good.
I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Oh, I love it.
Well, thank you for joining me on this today.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!